Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome the board, committee members, staff, and our online attendees. My name is Brenda Paris, board member, and I'll be chairing the Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation Governance and Human Resource Committee meeting today, Wednesday, June the 18th. Councillor Crisanti, who is normally our chair, is unable to be present today. I'll be in his stead. And we have no deputations today scheduled. June is a busy month for acknowledging and celebrating things in our calendar. June is Senior Awareness Month, Italian Heritage Month, National Indigenous History Month, Portuguese History Month, Pride Month, and Filipino Heritage Month. Upcoming this weekend on June 20th is World Refugee Day and the summer solstice. And June 21st is the National Indigenous Peoples Day. We have a full agenda today with a focus on a presentation from Flex Survey on our TSHC Employee Engagement Survey conducted recently. Then we have a few other items, then we will go into in-camera session. With that, I'll go on to the next agenda item, our land and African ancestral acknowledgements. Toronto Seniors Housing acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Toronto is home to a vast diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis who enrich and enliven our city. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Treaty between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabeg nations, the Two-Row Wampum Treaty between the Haudenosaunee and the Dutch, as well as Treaty 13 and the Williams treaties involving the Anishinaabe and the Crown. Toronto Seniors Housing is committed to reconciliation. We honor the land through our communities and programs that reflect and respect its heritage. Our land acknowledgement marks a small but key step in the process of reconciliation in building a positive relationship with Indigenous peoples. In addition to our land acknowledgement, we have the African ancestral acknowledgement. Something dear to my heart as someone who has that background. Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation acknowledges the racism and injustices faced by individuals who were brought to this land involuntarily, particularly those affected by the transatlantic slave trade. We acknowledge the experiences of Black peoples who arrived in Canada seeking a better life, following the abolition of slavery by the British in 1834, while also recognizing the structural, systemic, and individual racism that they encountered, which continues to persist today. This racism culminated in the tragic destruction of Acreville, which was once the largest settlement of the Black community in Canada. Toronto Seniors Housing is committed to recognizing all forms of racism, especially anti-Black racism, and is actively working to combat these injustices. We pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. We'll now proceed to item 3, approval of the public meeting agenda. Are there any amendments or new business to be added to the agenda? None? Hearing none, may I have a member of the committee move that the June 18, 2025 CGHRC public meeting agenda be approved as presented?
So moved, Madam Chair.
So move, Warren Law. Any seconders? Sorry, Fareed Amin. Thank you. All in favor? With all in favor, be it resolved that the June 18th, 2025 CGHRC public meeting agenda is approved as presented. Now proceed to item 4, the conflict of interest policy. Does anyone have a conflict of interest on any agenda item? No? With no conflicts having been declared? Having none, we will move on to item 5, the approval of the CGHRC public session minutes. Item 5, approval of the minutes of March 19th, 2025. Are there any amendments to these minutes of March 19th? None? Having none, may I have a member move that the committee minutes of March 19th, 2025, public session minutes be approved as presented?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Lauren
And
Rolfe as a mover.
back to second.
Seconder, Fareed Amin. With all in favor, be it resolved that the CGHRC's March 19th, 2025 public session minutes are approved as presented. Okay, we'll now proceed to item 6, approval of the closed session minutes. Are there any amendments to the minutes of March 19th, 2025, closed session minutes? No, none. Are they approved as presented? Mover, please.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Warren Law. May I have a seconder?
I will, Madam Chair.
Freed Amin, all in favor? With all in favor, be it resolved that the CGHRC's March 19th, 2025 closed session minutes are approved as presented. We will now proceed to item number 7, action items review list. Does anyone have any comments or additions to the action items list? None? Once the comments are made, thank you very much. We'll now go on to item 5. The engagement survey, TSHC Employee Engagement Survey. Now, at this point, is Mr. Rich here? I can't quite see on my screen.
Karen, I'll ask you to confirm, but through the chair,
Yes.
prior to Philip starting his presentation, I just want to go over some highlights.
Great, thank you. This is Carol France.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
So Philip will be presenting on the employee engagement survey. Primarily, it's a pulse survey. It's our second survey for staff. And just a few highlights, if I may.
Go ahead.
The survey was taken by 225 out of 298 eligible staff. Took the survey. Our participation rate is 76% versus 79% in 2023. And a few other highlights, of which Philip will expand upon in his presentation, is that engagement is high at 81% versus 82%. It's 8% above our industry comparators. From an endorsement standpoint, we're still at 90%, which is the same as in 2023, with a 9% above industry comparators. And then our satisfaction rate on a 3.8 out of 5 scale remains the same as 2023. Philip Rich, Senior Consultant, will Flex Surveys, will also speak more in depth about the top performing and bottom performing areas. And there's also some comparison where applicable between 2023 survey and 2025. And then just to note that action plans for the survey have already been completed. They will be reviewed on a quarterly basis. And so we have 23 action plans that have been entered into the system with over 50 different actions associated with them. So we're well on our way to working towards taking action on the feedback that's been provided to us.
Oh, good.
So said, I'm hopeful that Philip, are you here? Philip, there you are.
Yes.
Okay, so without further ado, Philip Rich, I'll turn it over to you to provide more details on the survey results.
Thank you, Carol.
So
Mr.
I
Rich?
see Philip. I don't know if he can hear.
Mr. Rich, can you hear us? Could you begin your presentation? It looks frozen. I don't know. Is that my visual?
No, he's moving, but I don't
Okay.
I don't know if his audio is hearing us.
Okay.
Let me send him a
Oh,
message.
there he is.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Okay.
Hi there. I can't seem to hear everyone else, but can you hear me?
We can hear you
Yes.
now. Yes. Can you hear us?
Okay, that could be the issue.
All right.
Philip, sometimes with WebEx,
Okay,
you
the
have to
speaker
change
test
the
seems to be
speaker.
working. I'm going to try to leave and re-enter. Maybe it's just a little bit of a glitch. I apologize. 1 second here.
Karen, was he unable to hear us? Was that the issue?
It sounded like, yeah,
Okay.
he could not hear us.
Okay.
All right, let's
Are you
try.
able to hear now?
Oh, okay, I can hear. I'm joining from the browser. I cheated this time, so it's working.
And will the report be placed up on our screen? Karen?
We can show the presentation unless you'd like to show it, Philip, you just let me know.
Yeah, I would prefer. I'm just going to pull that up. I hope
Okay.
that's popping up for everyone here.
Yes, it is.
Okay, beautiful. I'm guessing you've given the lead in, so I'll take it from here.
Yes. Yes, we have. Go ahead.
Beautiful. First of all, thanks so much for letting me join in here today. My name is Philip Rich. I'm from Flex Surveys. We're the organization that was hired to help conduct the recent engagement survey. Very quickly, a little bit about Flex. We're a boutique research firm. We focus exclusively on team member surveys, whether it's engagement, entrance, exit, 360, anything that you can imagine in the employer-employee space. Myself, I've been doing this type of work for 20 plus years, probably even a little bit longer here. So I have a lot of good experience working with organizations across the globe, big and small, in terms of engaging their teams. So when it comes to the survey, I think it's really important to make sure that it's always clear. The entire survey process was 100% confidential. No one within Flex, including myself, has any access to who participated or who said what. And while a lot of the focus of today is going to be on high-level results, how did we do across the organization, a key component of this process as well is breaking down the results into different departments and teams. And the reason that's so critical is we don't want to treat the overall patient. We want to work off the unique wants and needs that are coming from different parts of the organization. And so in doing so, really important to keep in mind, we're going to be able to break things down, but they have to still be large enough teams. You can see here what we call the rule of 5. In order to produce individual reports, we need groups of at least 5 or more responses. And every report has to be unique as well. They can't overlap with each other. They have to be at least 5 or more responses different. So today we're going to be talking about the 2025 engagement survey. This was a follow-up survey to the original survey back in 2023. A couple small changes. The main difference in 2025 is it's more of a pulse survey, which I'll explain as we get going, a little bit more dedicated to some specific questions and themes, but it's still going to give us some great overall tracking information as well. The survey itself, as you can see here, was conducted from the middle to late January. At the time of the survey, we're just at about 300 total staff. That's going to include anyone with 1+ month tenure. Yet again, we had a great response, 225 responses, 76% participation. This is going to give us a very clean read on the wants and needs that are coming back from the team, and it's highly representative as well. The key for this type of research, I don't want us to focus on the 24% that didn't participate. We want to focus on those that participated. What did they have to say, and what can we do from here? And the reason for that as well is there is no link between participation and satisfaction. So I don't want us to draw any conclusions based on that as well. So the main theme of the day, and this is something that's comparable, directly comparable between the two studies, is engagement. What is engagement? As a quick reminder, it's satisfaction plus. Not only are we happy, but it takes it a step further. Are we committed to the organization as well? The way that we track engagement is with the first question within the survey. It's a very simple question. Would you recommend us as a place to work? It is a little bit more of a complex scale. So again, just as a very quick refresher here, it's a 0 to 10 scale, 11 points in all. And what we're trying to do is create caricatures of employees and their relationship to the organization. Promoters, those are people who love it here, want to be here moving forward, highly engaged day to day. Our goal is to get everyone into this box. Passives, we're very happy, but there's one or two small things that are holding us back from being as excited as those promoters, and that's what we're trying to get an understanding of here today. And detractors, disengaged employees day to day. The survey is not about who are the detractors. The survey is about what are the obstacles and what can we do as leaders to remove these barriers, thereby engaging this portion of the workforce. So it was the same question asked in both surveys. You can now see our results, survey over survey. And you can see here very comparable overall. We had a slight increase when it comes to detractors. We're up a point. But we also had a nice increase when it comes to promoters. So we're sort of tightening our belt in the middle when it comes to that 30% passive. So as we're looking at this as our key metric, it gives us great information. Are we moving in the right or wrong direction? It really takes the temperature of the organization. And the focus for today is really continuing to dive into our 2025 results and where do we want to go from here. But at the same time, we want to link back to see, are we moving in the right direction? Really important, what's going to impact results? For the average employee, it's what's going on within my team, my department, my division, the organization, the province, the world around us. All of these things are going to have layered impacts on us as individuals. And it's important to note that the average organization during this time period from 23 to 25, they've seen a noticeable increase when it comes to the percentage of detractors. We're talking increase anywhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10%, as well as a notable decrease when it comes to promoters, about the same, 5 to 10% as well. So in terms of looking at our results, our 2025 results, not only are they strong, but overall, we've been able to hold on, even strengthen our results when the average organization has seen their results declining over the same period. The reason for that decline that we're seeing across the globe is increased expectations, wants and needs continue to increase amongst staff. We're still sort of coming out of the pandemic in a lot of mentalities, and that's been impacting. And as well, other things like inflation has continued to hamper and impact the employer-employee relationship. To really fine-tooth, to really track our progress as closely as possible, we're going to pull up some key metrics as well, NPS and engagement. NPS, or Net Promoter Score, this is taken by looking at our green minus our red, our promoters minus our detractors, 51 minus 19. That's where our 32 comes from. I would hazard a guess if you had a kid and they come home from school with a 32, you're not going to be thrilled. In this context, you should be. This is fridge-worthy, as I would call it. This is a very strong score. Not only are we up when most have seen their scores drop, we compare very nicely when we compare to external benchmarks. This is us comparing you to other similar organizations, apples to apples, based on size, industry, and geography. Most importantly, however, 20 to 30%. That's the proportion of organizations that take the test. So when you're getting compared, you're not getting compared to the whole class. It's the top of the class. And because of that, we refer to these as good, better, best in class. So what does this say to me? Our NPS, again, continues to be very strong. We have a good foundation here. We're coming in the top third of top performers. And as well, in addition to NPS, our engagement is very strong as well at 81%. Where does engagement come from? Well, it's anyone that's rowing in the right direction, scores of 7, 8, 9, or 10. And although our numbers are very similar, actually we're down technically a percent year to year, the proportion of that full green, those full promoters, is stronger than in the previous year as well. So again, excellent result, 81% coming in just below that top quartile of top performers. So overall, our engagement is our temperature check of the organization. We have very great results here. The downside of engagement and analyzing is it doesn't tell you what to do, what to continue to work on moving forward. And that's why we continue with the body of the survey, which is going to give us some more specifics. But we can also see that it's highly correlated to everything that follows within the survey. If I'm a full promoter, 9 or 10, you can see here I averaged a 4.2 out of 5 across the body of the survey. 81% of all my feedback is 4s and 5s, agrees and strongly agrees. A 7 or an 8, it sort of feels like it's almost the same, but there's a noticeable difference again. There's a half-point gap here. I'm happy, I'm not elated. And that's what we're trying to understand. What are those small things that we could work on to pull them over? The last portion here of our detractors, 0 to 6, it's a wide part of the scale. You can see here again, there's another gap. There's something holding me back from being as engaged as the other two groups ahead. Now, as we look at your detractors, I think it's important to note that this is actually a very strong score for that group. If I go back a couple pages here, if you bear with me, we do not have an even distribution from 0 to 6. You're actually front-loaded. The majority of your detractors are 5s and 6s. This is a silver lining. Not only do we have great results, we have the opportunity to continue to improve. We're just trying to pull people 1 or 2 bases over to the right by acting off their specific wants and needs. Now, behind that first question, we have a really important secondary question as well. The first question is, do you like where you work? Would you recommend us? The second question is, do you believe? Do you believe in the mission or vision? We don't want to use those specific words. Do you believe in the services is what we asked. Same scale, same great results. Very strong. This is a big jump up from the previous results as well, but 64% coming in as full promoters. Again, year over year, very comparable, coming above the top quartile of top performers. So suffice it to say, as we roll this out amongst staff, it's about celebrating this. We all believe in what we're doing here. Let's just make sure we get back to basics and we're taking care of each other and we're having fun and enjoying it along the way. That's the focus here. And that's going to come from the body of the survey, which talks about satisfaction. How happy are you with the everyday? It's a little bit tricky. Let me walk us through. In 2023, we had 43 total questions. 17 of those are what I'd call core questions that we've then re-asked again in 2025. So remember, this is a pulse survey. We took a subset of those questions, and you can see here with that same subset of questions, the results are spot on year over year. Really important, during the same point in time, the average organization has seen a dip in scores. Anywhere from 0.1 to 0.2 would be pretty normal. So just staying at par to me is a big win. We also added 9 custom questions. So what we did is we took some of our biggest opportunities from the past and we were poking and prodding at them, trying to see what's going on in some of those specific areas. So it's important to note that we analyzed these. I didn't roll them into the overall average because it would throw off the weighting, because we're really overweighting certain specific themes within the results. Now, what were those themes? You can see here, in terms of our core questions, high-level themes on alignment and recognition, overall workplace culture, overall job satisfaction, all of these coming in pretty tight when we're looking year over year. It will probably be a question at some point. Let me jump out ahead here. How come our numbers line up, our bars don't? Very simple. Our numbers are rounded, our bars are not. It's hard enough to know what a 3.9 is. We don't want to start overanalyzing a 3.89 versus a 3.91, if that makes sense. Our custom questions, this is us picking on those key themes that we wanted to work on: recognition, opportunities, and workload. And we're going to be diving into each of these. So these are the different themes that we covered. And then we take it further, breaking down into the individual questions within the survey as well. Very quickly, I wanted to highlight some highs and lows as we found them. So these are our highest averages that came back from the survey. I know it's expected of me, job role alignment. I'm proud to work here. Both of these, you could see, scored very well, and actually this whole page. Not only do we have high scores, it's coming from everywhere. 80, 90% of scores are coming back as 4s and 5s, agrees and strongly agrees. So our strengths, some of them are even stronger, you can see here as well, versus the past survey. In addition to those, I want to continue working here. This is Engagement 101. I have the opportunity to do what I do best. Again, more job role alignment, and opportunity to share my thoughts and ideas, communication. On the flip side, we want to start poking at the other side of the coin, some of the opportunities. Department staffing, this was one of the core questions that was asked on the previous survey. You can see here we've maintained this score. From my perspective, the average organization has even continued to see this drop a little bit. The average employee just feels like we're doing more with less. We're very tight. There's two sides to the equation. We have to talk about staffing. What are we doing numbers-wise? What are our quotas moving forward? We have to talk about workload. How do we get people focused on their core responsibilities? The rest of these questions, these are our custom questions that we added to the survey, and we had a couple different themes here. I've seen progress improvements in workload over the past 12 months. So you can see we had a 3 average. A third or so of responses came back 4s and 5s. 2/3 are going to come back as a 1, 2, or 3. That's where we're going to want to dig into a little bit further. Awareness now of action plans. So you can see here again, 3.0, 3.1, 40% or so of staff are aware of what we're doing here. The other 60 are, sort of shrugging their shoulders a little bit or saying, I'm not sure. This is going to be one of the keys to success, and we have some numbers and stats I'll bring up shortly. It's not good enough anymore just to act off the results. What we have to do a little bit, and much more so, is communicate what we're doing. We have to, it's not patting ourselves on the back and taking recognition or approval for it. It's just clearly drawing a line for staff. This is what you asked for. This is how we're answering you. And we have to hammer it through with a lot of communication, not globally, but locally, leader by leader, team by team, as we're moving forward. In addition to the strong participation, we had very strong commentary as well. This is above average commentary when it comes to comments. Normally, we're about 60 to 70% of those that participate leave comments. You're at 82. To me, what does that mean? 750 comments for this type of pulse survey. It means people strongly believed in confidentiality when you add this to the participation. It also shows that people cared and they took the time to share the good, the bad, everything in between. I'm going to quickly just walk you through some of the key themes that we saw here. This is the positive feedback, what came back from respondents. Again, it's that belief, services, it's each other, coworkers, great place to work, salary, mission. These are the things that people took the time to talk about unaided that they're happy with. And then on the flip side, the same thing for some of the opportunities. Now, a lot of this will link into some of the themes that we addressed, but you could see, you could see here we have staffing, work-life balance, recognition, communication, career development, salary and benefits. These are going to be some of the themes that we want to jump into. And you might notice some of these are on both sides of the border as well. How is that possible? It depends on who I am, my tenure, my role, my leader. I might have a different perspective on things. So some people are happy in an area. Some people are looking for improvements. When it comes to benchmarking, and I think this is really important as well, we're, again, comparing against good, better, and best. Across the board, what jumps out to me as an external party looking in is at or above standard pretty much the whole way through the survey. There's only a single question where we're coming in a little bit lower compared to benchmark, and that has to do with staffing, people's perceptions on staffing. Far more 75th percentiles, opportunity to do what I do best. I know what's expected of me, share my thoughts and ideas, committed to doing quality work in terms of our fellow employees. I'm proud to work here, and also job commitment. To me, that really speaks to the foundation that you have. So very quickly, I just want to talk, I know I'm running through very quickly for the sake of time here, but hopefully that gives everyone a good understanding of some of the stats, the numbers. Again, strengthening, moving in the right direction. How do we keep it going is the key. And the only way to do that is with blended implementation. This is no one person's job. So we are trying to focus on leader by leader, team by team, but also what can the organization be doing from senior leadership to support them, as well as overall plans. And it's also the staff's job to continue to help and clarify what they're looking for, what they're happy with, and what they'd like to see moving forward. We're moving things along when it comes time to implementation. We've already rolled out training and reporting to leaders. We've given them an opportunity to dig into their results, develop some specific plans, and start communicating those out. we're just springing into the implementation, and that's going to be the focus moving forward as well for the next year or so. Not only implementation, but ongoing communication as well. This is a little bit more granular. Again, we're just getting going into the implementation, and the goal in the future is to do a little bit, again, of a fuller follow-up survey to continue seeing if we're moving in the right direction, to realign, and also reevaluate if we have to get some more specifics in terms of some of our key pillars that we're working on. So what have we been working on, and what are we working towards? A lot is the quick answer. 23 different teams have put together action plans at this point, 50 action plans in total that are taking place across the organization. That's the action that not only have we created, we've communicated out to staff. And the key is keeping that going. Here's a little bit of a breakdown of where that's coming from. You can see the vast majority is with operations. That's also with the size of that particular division within the organization. But this is coming from all over across the board is the real key. So that was my quick elevator speech, and then 20 minutes or less, I hope. Questions, thoughts, clarifications? I'm happy to take things in any direction here.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. Tom, was there anything you'd like to add to this?
Well, through the chair and to the committee, and thanks, Brenda. No, and Philip, thank you for coming. I've heard the elevator pitch many times now, but I do, I think, from the staff's perspective, and hearing feedback, they're pleased with these results, but we really are being very open about the 3 areas that we want to focus on around workload recognition, really awareness and communication. And so we want to kind of continue to obtain those positive results, but we have been really being very clear to the staff that we didn't move the needle a whole lot in those three areas, and so we're being kind of far more intentional around what are those actions, what are those processes. But I certainly see one of my key roles, and Philip talked about this, was the awareness aspect of it, that we need to really share with staff what we are doing, and so that they make the connection between us working on recognition and what as an organization, what are we doing, and is it kind of feeling better for them, and to continue to receive that support. And I just mentioned that coming up at the next board meeting, when I present my updated kind of performance, my mid-year review, you'll be able to specifically see how I have within the goal of employee of choice, the areas of the employee survey, but then also specifically kind of my action plan and what I'm doing, and then knowing that it's rolling out at the various levels and with staff throughout the organization.
Okay, thank you. Any other staff comments who are involved? No. Questions, queries, anyone? Reid, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. I mean, thanks for the presentation. Thanks for the introduction as well, and appreciate the postscript, Tom. I think this speaks great. Demonstrate that we are sort of moving along that continuum to be an employer of choice, and I'm very pleased to see that on many of the statistics we are sort of edging up. However, I mean, I think there are a few things that is a bit of a concern. One is those 3 critical areas that Tom identified that we don't seem to have made a lot of progress on. And the other areas where we've made some progress, and these are my words, the progress are fairly marginal. I mean, it's not to say that they're not significant, because they were already high. And how can you improve if you're getting 80%? How can you improve from 80%? So I think we're making progress, but I think we have to be cognizant that we're also the progress is incremental, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the 3 areas that Tom identified and was identified by Rich and others, I think, is of concern. And the other one that I did not see, sorry, Philip, I call you Rich, The other thing that I think was one I didn't see highlighted was the whole training and development piece. And if you look at those 5 or 6 indicators that people think we're doing well at, training and development ranks perhaps the lowest. And that's one that I think perhaps we should pay some attention to. And the final point I'd make, at least in this first round of comments, is the issue around the action plan. If we're looking at those 3 critical areas as areas that we need to improve on based on 2023 and 2025, and I don't want to get into the action plan in a detailed sense, but seems to me like some of that stuff needs to be driven across the organization. So there need to be enterprise-wide initiatives to move that along. I see that operations has got a bulk of the action plan, and perhaps that's the way most organizations operate, and that's where it lands. But it'd be interesting to see an ELT has one. So I just put it on the table that I think sometimes there is a need for a more enterprise-wide approach to some of these things, rather than having one part of the organization drive these initiatives and the other parts of the organization. I'm not saying this is the case. Feel like they don't need to worry about some of these things. So maybe that those are sort of my preliminary comments, and I mean I can get into some of those details based on how much time we've got. But I don't know, Tom, whether that sort of makes sense, or Philip.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Philip, maybe do you want to comment first, Philip, and then I'll.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to action plans, and you made a couple of great points, what we've found is high-level action plans don't always resonate with frontline employees. When we try to sort of paint everyone with the same brush, it doesn't always sort of follow its way through. So if we look at any of those key headlining areas, whether it's recognition, opportunities, workload, even if you want to add in training and development, if we sort of push that down from leadership, what happens is no one feels like we're acting off their specific wants and needs. So instead, what we've tried to do is create the frame and have leadership drive this, but the more specific action items, team by team, leader by leader, that's how we're going to customize the rollout. And what I typically ask for amongst leadership teams is actually to step back, believe it or not, and let your leaders lead. But what we need from leadership is to hold people accountable, to follow up, to track, to help drive and communicate and put the emphasis behind it. So a little bit of that is by design, perhaps, and I could take responsibility because those are our recommendations. Those are the current best practices these days. But the reason for that is so that people feel like we're listening to them rather than getting lost in the overall messaging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and if I may, Madam Chair, I'm not talking about painting everyone with the same brush. I mean, I understand the need to differentiate between what's happening across the organization. What I'm talking about, though, is leading with a sense of purpose and mission. And doesn't mean that the ELT has to assume ownership of these things, but some of these things, if they're cross-cutting and enterprise-wide, has to be driven by the leadership team and cannot simply be the purview of one part of the organization. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about owning these things, but I'm speaking about driving an agenda and a theme at the ELT level that potentially can resonate with the organization. And of course, division directors and managers will have the responsibility to implement these things. But the tone has to be set from the top on some of these critical initiatives because they do permeate across the organization.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead, Tom, and then Linda. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No.
I'll just respond
to that, and then I'll go to Linda. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. Through the chair to the committee, and I do think that there has been, we have since this last survey kind of articulated our kind of action plans. As I said, myself, the directors have, and you saw within the operations, 18 different plans with individual or the team. So that is rolling out across the organization. And I want to mention that in using operations as an example, in terms of workload, and Brad might want to provide more detail here, but those teams have just undergone process improvement mapping and changes to many aspects of their operations. And so that is helping to address the workload. And then, we have talked more about staff, as an example, around the 2025 budget. We were successful with council around 5 additional FTEs. Was that, when they were approved in the budget, did we widely communicate that to the staff? No, we hadn't. So we're making sure that they understand that there was kind of a quantitative. It's not what they necessarily would want to see around helping to address their workload, but there was some quantitative measures around the addition of FTEs. But then also, like, work has been, we're seeing it now kind of finalized around these extensive process and operational improvements. So that cuts across all of the operations within TSHC. So we really are trying to make this live at all levels.
Thank you. And just a reminder, with use of acronyms, FTE obviously is full-time equivalent.
Oh, full-time equivalent.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm terrible with that.
No, we all are. That's just a reminder. Linda, sorry, I didn't quite see you, Linda.
Oh, that's no problem. That's no problem. I can't even see my hand up. Tom, I think you anticipated my question. I have been thinking a lot about the workload, because that seems to come up. And even when I have actually had small opportunities to connect with staff, that often comes up. And no organization has a budget where you can just increase the staff. So it would be interesting to know what the strategy is. And I think you've started to address that in terms of, are we looking at changing the way work is done, complementary processes, technology, all of those things. And, so it would be great to see that. And I think it would be great to, consider that as we go into budgeting, because I'm not assuming that we're just going to be adding new staff. So your approach to that in particular will be, I think, of interest to the board as we go into the next phase.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it Brad? Is your hand up there for?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to build on both Tom and Linda's points. So recently we held a session where we brought together 2 people per region per role that deliver services. So 2 SSCs per region, 2 TSAs per region, 2 superintendents, and we had them walk through workflows that are currently out there. It was attended by the people and culture team, who will be turning those into learning development tools. Be some self-guided modules that people will be able to have. But the feedback that we got from staff was really great. Some of the things that we had planned out as far as a workflow, they made some improvements or just asked for tweaks and changes to letters. So we're in the process of developing those staff training resources right now. And then we just launched all those workflows out for staff to give them those resources in a SharePoint site that we launch. Actually, it goes live tomorrow, and it'll be forced onto everybody's desktop, where they'll have access to all these materials. So looking to address the concerns that were raised in the survey, and we're well along our way in some of the respects.
If I could ask a question, it follows up on your point on workload. Just quick technical question. How much of this is governed by our collective agreement, and how much of it is within our purview as management to be able to determine some changes there? Who would answer?
Yeah, I can start, or
yeah,
I can start to that. I would think, as it relates to workload, I would, my initial is that the collective agreement, doesn't necessarily kind of affect that to an extensive degree. Like that work that Brad and their teams are doing on process improvement, that's outside of the collective agreement process. And, and obviously us requesting kind of FTEs of council, that's within our preview. So I would say that we are not constrained by our agreements.
Great. And following my second question was I think you answered some of this, Brad. Staff meetings. I don't know how frequent or how often we do staff meetings, and at what level. Do section heads meet? Do section areas meet? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? I mean, it ties in with this notion of communication as well as workload discussion, but the more staff can communicate with each other and with their managers, I'm wondering how frequent those sorts of staff meetings are, and at what level is it done? Is it done on a regional basis? Is it done by, the maintenance staff of meetings in the building, etc.? There's just some clarification on that.
Yeah, thanks, Brenda. So all the staff have different meetings at different frequencies. There is a
Okay.
quarterly schedule that they hold to. The quarterly schedule, it's a very weird, due to the nature of our operations, we have different meetings, right? So there's
Right.
integrated team meetings, which would be everybody involved with a specific development. The senior services coordinator,
Right.
the superintendent, that whole continuum of service that we deliver to tenants. Then we also have quarterly meetings where they're held by role. So all the senior services coordinators for a region will get together, all the superintendents will get together. There is a plan that's been rolled out through the operations team for these frontline meetings with our staff and bringing them to single locations. And we're also working with TSHC right now to install web cameras and microphones into all of our buildings so that we can move a lot of these meetings online and not take the staff away from their buildings and the tenants.
Yes. So if I could just clarify, you don't have like a weekly meeting of all the maintenance people in one building?
No, we do not.
It'd be quarterly or as needed. Okay. Because I'm just wondering if that could be something looked at. It helps with communication, of management's plans and forecasting, that when people can actually talk about it in a staff meeting, right? Any other questions, queries? I can't see any hands up here. Any follow-up? Okay. That's it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rich, for attending and providing a good summary. And thank you, Carol, for the introduction there. And we'll follow up on this. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Philip.
Okay. Thank you. Now move on to item 9, the TSHC committee terms of reference. And this is the terms of reference of all 3 of the standing committees. I think it's Grant who will be commenting on this. Grant, go ahead.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody, and through the chair. So before the committee today is a report that is intended for approval of some updates to the terms of reference for each of the 3 committees. So for this committee, Corporate Governance and Human Resources Committee, for the Audit, Finance and Risk Committee, and for the Quality and Tenant Engagement Committee. The scope of the edits and changes that are before committee today for these terms of reference are generally housekeeping in nature, with some small formatting and language adjustments. The original terms of reference that are in effect right now were approved, as the board recalls, back in late 2021 and early 2022. And according to the terms of reference, they're supposed to be going through an annual review. There has not been a review of these terms of reference since they were put in effect in 2021 and 2022. We do have an intent to bring forward a more detailed conversation about the terms of reference that would include working with the chairs of each of the committees and then the board as a whole. We have a workshop that we're planning to do later this year with the board on governance. And that workshop on governance will happen after the board membership has been reaffirmed through the city. And that's expected to be by October of this year. The report highlights for each of the committees a summary of the changes that are within the 3 terms of reference documents. So there are some kind of key summary highlight bullets that are listed in the staff report that covers this. And then we've attached both clean and markup copies of the terms of reference for that clarity as to what the changes are.
Yes, thank you for doing that. I like that highlighting. Easy to read.
And we know that's something the board appreciates, and it helps for people to be able to track what's actually being dealt with. And then the intent, subject to the review and a discussion here with the committee today, is to bring these forward at the July 31st board meeting for consideration. The intent, again, is not to do a fulsome review of the committee structure with these, but really to clean them up. There were a few inconsistencies that you probably noted when you looked at the edits in the original when they were approved. And I'll pause there for any questions.
To read?
Yeah, thanks, Grant. This is great. I mean, I think good update, and thanks for sharing the original as well as the track changes. I just have a couple of minor editorial comments, I guess. The first one, with regards to the Finance and Audit Committee, under support for the committee, I'm just trying to find the appropriate section in my notes here. There is reference to the interim finance need, the committee being supported by the interim finance need, the CEO, and the executive assistants. And given that, you know, we're sort of preparing these to withstand the test of time, I'm not sure interim finance lead is appropriate.
Yes, I noticed that too. Thank you.
So maybe just say finance lead or whatever the designation is, rather than interim finance lead. Did you see that section in the report?
I do. I know what you're talking about, and we can take that back for an edit. Thank you.
Yeah, and then under the with regards to the finance committee, I know that you have deleted any reference to financial acumen, and I agree with that in principle, but I think it might be worth considering putting a provision in there when it comes to membership, although not mandatory. You could indicate that the committee may look for individuals with financial background to support the work of this committee. So some reference to some financial background acumen, I think would be, while it's not mandatory, from my own perspective, I think we're fortunate to have someone like Lawrence lead that committee. You know, but I think it makes sense to look for individuals who may have financial or some fiscal skills that can support the work of the committee. So again, I'm not suggesting it be mandatory, but I think language around individuals with a financial background or with financial asset might be considered, or something of that sort, rather than simply deleting that entire section.
Through the chair, can I just clarify? That edit that you're referring to is in the Corporate Governance and HR Committee, this committee's terms of reference. I just wanted to clarify that that is the one, that's where we have showing that to be removed.
All right, so yeah, so then I agree with that. I don't think you need that for the finance and for the governance and HR committee. I agree.
Okay, thank you.
And I think also, just to add to that, I think the secretary that chooses members for our board, I think they do have, I don't know if it's stated or understood, that they do look for people with financial background for some of our public positions. So that's another little bit of a fallback. We do have board membership that does reflect that skill need.
So through the chair, yes, the city in selecting board members does have criteria and skill sets that they are looking for in the context of that selection process.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention it here, but it is something that we would ultimately go through as a future activity. Is if you recall, we did a board committee membership process in the past where we actually had committee member or board members express interest in committees and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And look for alignment as well. So that would be something we would be looking to do later on as well, to look at the membership of the committees too down the road.
Any other comments?
Yeah, the only other comment, Madam Chair, is regard accountability. And I see this reference here that the committee will retain external advisors as appropriate to provide relevant expertise and any other support. I'm not sure, Grant, what that's supposed to mean.
I think that was initially because we didn't change that, but that's likely something we would change over time, where we used to have external support for board administration. So we actually had a third party doing all of our board secretary role.
Yeah.
And
but that's much broader than that, though, right? That goes beyond the support.
It could be. We can take another look at that segment.
Okay, is that sufficient? We need vote on this, do we not? This is, you're seeking approval for this.
Brenda, through the chair, if I could suggest with these amendments that have been requested from Fareed's comments, if the committee is supportive of us looking at that and then moving this forward with such amendments to the board meeting in July, we can proceed, I think.
Okay. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah,
okay.
Let's move this along.
Okay. So are we going to be posting this, Karen, up on the screen? Be it resolved. Should I read it out?
Yeah, I'll just make the motion to
I can read it out as well.
I'm just adding in that wording, Brenda.
Okay,
Thank you, Karen.
There you go.
great. So this is a motion. Motion that the Corporate Governance and Human Resources Committee approve with amendments noted and recommend the Board of Directors. First point, approve the amended TSHC AFRC terms of reference. Approve the amended TSHC QTEC terms of reference. And approve the amendment TSHC CGHRC terms of reference. Can I have a mover and a seconder? So move, Lawrence?
Yeah.
Thank you, Lawrence. Seconder,
I beg to second, Madam Chair.
Fareed? I mean, seconder. All in favor? Thank you very much. Now,
Brenda, my apologies for
go ahead.
interrupting.
Go ahead.
Can I just, I should have acknowledged and thanked Karen for her effort in working through the amendments on those terms of reference. So I just wanted to acknowledge Karen's efforts on that.
Very good point. Very good point. This is the advantage of having a good, what, corporate, do we call her a corporate secretary? I'm not certain what your title is.
He's our
here.
executive assistant and board secretary.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Karen, for your work on that. All right, let's move on to item 10, People and Culture Dashboard. Over to you, Carol.
Thank you. So through the chair, I'll go through the highlights of the dashboard and some key noteworthy areas. So one of the highlights is we had very low turnover, maintained a moderate vacancy rate. Our vacancy rate has actually decreased by 0.39%.
Excuse me, Carol.
since-
Are we putting anything up on the screen for you to comment on, or?
Karen, do you want to? Karen, can you put the
Or is it,
attached?
or is it too lengthy?
We can add it to the screen.
This helps put things in context when you talk about them. And make it a
Karen,
little
yeah,
bigger if you
so-
can. I know you're restricted on this screen.
And just above, you can also
Yeah.
increase the size. So thank you. So through the chair, so this report is for information. And as I was saying, from a recruitment standpoint, we had 7 job postings. Mind you, one of them included a cleaner role with 12 vacancies. So there's quite a bit of work being done there, even though it shows 7. But our vacancy rate and our turnover rate remain low. They have since decreased since last quarter, so happy for that. From a training and development standpoint, we have had a lot of training that's in progress. As Brad said, our LNOD, or Learning and Organizational Development Advisor, Karen Starchuk, has been working very closely with operations to deliver some operational training. Or at least take the operations processes and putting it in an actual training kind of course content format. We have 4 brown bag lunch and learn sessions. So in June and July, so we're focusing on key skills, and I think I mentioned this at our last meeting, but email writing, facilitation skills and presentation skills, resume writing and interview skills. So we've seen some strong attendance there. For our lost time claims, we have a small number of non-lost, and there is some first aid cases. So we have an overall cost of of $14,000 there. And so next quarter, I'll provide some comparative data quarter over quarter. From an absenteeism, there's various rates that are captured here. Some of them have been reduced since last reporting. We are supporting our leaders from a culpable and non-culpable standpoint. So working through that. Joint Health and Safety Committee, we had 3. Karen, you might want to reduce, and I don't know if it's mine that I increase, but you might want to zoom out so that you can see the full content again. From a Joint Health and Safety Committee updates, we had 3 committee meetings. There were no ministerial labor visits, so that's been working well. And then I spoke to the lost time claims. We have various training opportunities. I won't go through each one right now, but we are working to offer various training opportunities. One of the other things that we implemented this year is there are approximately 5 policies that we have online, either read and acknowledge or read and answer questions to. So we've included that month over month. We're having key policy reviews. We still have our nonviolent training, nonviolent confrontation training. We have still our cybersecurity, which we will be updating shortly to our 2025. And then what's consistent is our AODA and accessibility training. We also are currently in progress with our Aging in the Community, which is partnering with the NORC Innovation. And then we have an upcoming human rights training that coincides with our policy. And on the second page of this document, just very quickly, you'll see I was asked at our last meeting to just kind of highlight and provide a little bit more detail with respect to the types of training that we have. So you see there's policies, there's tenant-focused, cybersecurity, leadership training, seniors-focused training. I'm also looking into when we can start to launch some idea-related training to our team and our committees, as well as mental health first aid again, and looking at 3Ds of dementia. So still working to really identify those tenant-focused trainings, as well as those skill-building training.
Okay.
So I'm not sure through the chair if there's anyone that has any questions for me.
Let's see, I can't see anyone's hands up. Just a quick question. Do we say some of this training is mandatory, some of it is optional? How do we balance that out?
So some of the training is mandatory. So it depends on if it's required for a role. It depends on if it's legislated. Some of our, for instance, like our cybersecurity is mandated through our IT. So it really depends on what the training is.
And is the training in person or online, or obviously a combination of both, but are people able to attend online if they cannot physically be present for some of the training?
Through the chair, it just depends on what the training is and how it's structured. So some of our training is a hybrid approach, in person or online. So we've kind of wanted to adapt the training where we can. Some of it is online, a lot of it is online, and then some of it is purely in person.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? All right. Thank you, Carol. Thanks for that report.
Sorry, Brenda.
Elaine has a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. A great presentation again, Carol. I just have, a bit of trying to understand the absenteeism rates chart, and there are a couple of bars there that shows the illness and also the WSIB and the ill unpaid. Has any work been done to try and better understand that trend, and perhaps something that we can do as a corporation to address some of those issues with staff?
So through the chair, yes, we actually spoke about this today. Our business partners are working with leaders We are working with the leaders definitely on the non-culpable and looking
Okay.
to further implement an absentee management program.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
something that we are looking to work on. Where we compare the comparative analysis, so next month I'll be able to provide that, but where we compare with other organizations in terms of absenteeism rates, we'll still have to determine that to see where we are, but internally, the intention is to work on developing an absenteeism management program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for that report. Okay, now move on to item 11, the employee orientation, TSHC employee orientation. And this is, Carol, this is back to you as well as Karen? I'm not certain.
Yes, it is. Karen Bodden, may I ask that you share your screen with Karen's presentation.
Okay.
So through the chair, this is also for information. Anyone who knows me, I always start out with these words. I'm excited. I am excited to present this to CGHRC. There's a lot of work that went into creating
I can see.
TSHC employee orientation. Karen Starchuk, who is our learning and organizational development advisor, will walk you through the overview. I just want to share that this is evolutionary. So as we speak, we are continuing to make updates and include videos and things that we think will enrich the experience. But I'm very proud of the output, and it's been going over well. But Karen will take you through, and then if there are any questions at the end, let us know. Thank you.
Great, thank
Karen,
you.
over to you.
Karen, go
Thank
ahead.
you. And through the chair and to the committee, I'm pleased to introduce our brand new, if you could just start off on the initial. Yeah. I'm pleased to introduce our brand new orientation here at Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation through a very large project initiative that involved all departments. All were accountable to contribute their feedback, suggestions, and the communications team provided robust images and videos that captured the true essence of who we are and what we do, and the value to the tenants and to the employees. The result is dynamic. I personally conducted a few orientation sessions, and the feedback is excellent. This supports our strategy and how we celebrate what we do and who we are. So module 1, Karen, just module 1. Yeah, thank you. Is all about getting to know who we are, what we do. It's the focus on our history, overview of our leaders and the roles and responsibilities. Also the board, who is who, their backgrounds, responsibilities, and our strategic direction. The ISM model, obviously. And there's a key message here of how we all are part of something greater than just providing housing. We all have a part to play. That is a key message throughout the orientation. And we all have a positive impact to the lives of the tenants. So module 2 is focused on, Karen, thank you. Yeah, it's all focused on about our tenants, who they are. I really like the stats, the statistics in ages, the diversity in languages, the regional maps that were integrated, and our survey results, and how we support and continue to make a difference. The visuals and information is excellent, well received.
Yes,
and
yes.
We're a small but mighty team, to Carol's point, and definitely this is a wow impact to those who are hired and coming on board. Module 3. Yeah, Karen, module 3, thank you, is all about us, you, and TSHC. It's a true partnership. We walk through the level of importance in terms of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And this is embedded in our strategy, our corporate governance and plans for 2026, and also the importance of health and safety, WHMIS compliance, and how we continue to partner together to ensure success. And Module 4, Karen, thank you. This is filled with general information geared to income. The staffing lists are shared in terms of how they support, where they support. Local 79 and 416, the staffing rules are shared. We speak about environmental health unit, community safety, programs, tenant circles, the publications, which are well received, our volunteers, stack meetings, but I'm going to share this. Tom had multiple road shows, and when I first joined at the end of September, I actually joined in one, and the tenants feel heard. They contribute to our feedback, and they definitely feel empowered. So that's my personal experience, and I can't say enough. So Module 5. Obviously, I'm very excited about this. I actually provide a full demo on, it's a live demo of our applications, our career hub, self-directed e-learning, Dayforce pay review, who to contact in terms of our benefits for 416 and 79, and then non-exempt employees. We present the Employee and Family Assistance Program. And also we review the communication standards, publication standards, how important communications are. And we end the session and ask for feedback. And that was developed in a standard feedback form. And yes, thank you very much through the chair and committee. Thank you for listening.
Well, I certainly learned something reviewing it, so I think it was great.
Thank you.
And you're saying there will be live videos in there when people can. So
Yes.
that's good. That's good for people with different learning styles. Yeah, thank you very much for all that hard work and all the other staff. You can express our thanks to them as well who participated. Any questions about orientation? Lawrence.
Yeah,
Go
it
ahead.
appears to be, sorry, I'm just trying to remove this hand. The modules appear to be quite comprehensive. I think it's a good job. Somewhere in that I have a question as to the fonts. A few years ago, the font requirement AODA was Arial 12. Has it changed now to Calibri 12?
Yeah, I noticed that too, Lawrence. Yeah.
Through the chair, if there is an issue, we'll confer with our communications, and then we can make the changes just to be in accordance. So I can't confirm at this point, but if that is the case, then we will make the update.
Okay, thank you.
So Lawrence, is there one font that is recommended over
This is a few years ago.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this.
They're
Yeah.
advising Arial 12, but Microsoft comes out with the new one. They came out with the Calibri,
Yes.
and then now the new one is Aptos. The moment you, by default, Microsoft
Okay.
normally advises, but it used to be. I mean, a few years ago, I have not checked recently.
Thank you. Through the chair, we'll vet, and then if there's changes required, we'll make those updates certainly to be in line.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? I can't quite see everyone, so please speak up if there is. Okay, thank you very much for that presentation, and we look forward to hearing some of your updates. Great. Now, item 12, governance work plan update. Grant, this is your presentation. Go ahead.
Thank you. So through the chair, before the committee today as an update on the TSHC governance work plan. The governance work plan was first established by the board back in 2023, and then we've been bringing progress updates forward to committee. The governance work plan has also been incorporated into the 2023 to 2025 strategic directions for TSHC, which are also reported on a quarterly basis. This update here today is more targeted towards the governance work plan itself, but I just wanted to highlight that updates are also coming forward in those other aspects. There are three sort of elements to today's, or two main elements to today's update. One is the governance work plan itself, and I'll highlight a couple of the things that have been done. The last time we gave an update on this was at the November 21st CGHRC last year. So we've done the board orientation, which some of you have gone through. We reviewed several board policies, if you recall, last year, and updated the board meeting procedure. Those are some of the more governance-oriented aspects of what the work plan covers, but there are also some overarching governance foundations for the organization. So we've also, for example, put in place the risk management framework. If you recall, that was one of the items on the list to do, including the policy. And that's an ongoing item they'll see in the attachment because it'll be something we'll be reporting on and bringing forward in the future. In terms of some upcoming things, sorry, I'll also mention, I'll be going over the meeting survey results questionnaire, one of the items that was on the work plan. I'll be going over that in a bit more detail in a moment. And then one of the other items was to review the board terms of reference, which we just literally did a few minutes ago. So we're making some progress. A few things that are upcoming, and they'll be tied in with the board governance workshop that I mentioned earlier in the meeting. We're going to follow up on the board skills matrix and training aspect. There's still a governance best practices standards review that has to be dealt with. And then ultimately there's the full strategic planning process to look at what we're going to do post the 2023 to 2025 strategic directions. I'll remind the board that there's an upcoming board workshop on that on July the 10th, for example. We'll also be doing the next tenant experience survey later this year as well, and we'll bring an update on that forward later through the Quality and Tenant Engagement Committee. The other thing that we'll mention that's upcoming is a new board portal, which we're going to be working on, which will be a new way for board members to access board materials. It'll be an online subscription type service that we will be putting in place later this year. We're actually collaborating with TSHC on this. They're also looking to do something, and we're working together with them. We would have our own board portal, though, in that process. Attachment 1 to the report is a more detailed list of the time-limited and ongoing activities and their current status, which if you have any questions, we can go to. I've highlighted a few things that are on that list. Also in this report today, if you recall, we did, for a number of meetings, a post-meeting questionnaire or survey that we had sent out to the meeting attendees. This is an item we wanted to bring back with a follow-up here. So overall, we did 13 surveys at the time across several meetings. Attachment 2 has a summary of the results of the survey. So you can see by the different questions what our response rates look like. As well, we have a second attachment that talks about how many responses we got. So we got 30 of the potential 78 responses we could have received. We got a 31 or a 39.7% response rate, which is pretty good. Generally, there was overall satisfaction in areas of the agenda, the relevancy of materials, the quality of the reports, and broad accomplishments that board and committee would have that you would see in the meetings. There were some opportunities noted for improvement in areas around meeting facilitation, opportunities for members to participate in discussions and the preparation of members. And then there was a key area of improvement that was noted in several spots around technology, and it scored lower in several meetings. And you'll see that in the way the colors play out on the attachment there in yellow. We're hoping that this board portal, for example, will help improve the technology aspect, but there were some other things that we did and still looking to do. So for the overall facilitation and support of the meetings, we did expand the annotated agenda process. Initially, that was only something that was being prepared for the board chair, and it was done externally. Since Karen has joined, we've expanded that and now do that for all committee chairs and the board chair. And we've actually enhanced the content of that as well to help support the facilitation of each meeting. We've also looked to improve some of the online technology. I know that there have been issues at times with WebEx, but we have worked and now have on-site IT support during these meetings and/or on call for direct support in the meeting if we're running into an issue. You recall earlier on, we used to have some issues when we had deputations. Those have sort of cleaned up now. We don't have those issues quite like we used to. The YouTube streaming is going better and going well. And we've even put some technology in the boardroom for hybrid meetings. And we'll just again note that the results for the meeting questionnaire are attachment 2. So the intent is to bring forward regular updates, and then we'll ultimately look to refresh this governance work plan as part of that governance workshop later this year, and set some further clarity around additional things we might want to focus on and update on how we're doing on some of the current items. And I'll take any questions.
Lawrence.
My question is on that board portal. Would you be able to give any more information on that proposed board portal?
We do have a document that we've developed together with Toronto Community Housing on a scope for what the different aspects of the board portal would have. So, for example, it would be a place where we would send you out a link and you would log into an external website to get access to your materials. We'd have the ability to do surveys right in that tool, for example. We would be able to embed the material for the meetings in there, so they're not going back and forth via email. We would also be able to put the link for the meeting in there as well if you're, instead of only looking for it in your calendar. So those are some of the things, but there's actually a more detailed list, and we can share out more information with the board if you would like.
Would we be able to download any documents or print off any documents from that portal? Because in some organizations, there are restrictions on printing or downloading any documents.
I'd have to go back through the chart. I'd have to go back and look at the scope of work, but I'm pretty sure we would have the ability to manage access control on the documents as to whether or not they could be downloaded or not.
Thank you.
That's a good point. And also in terms of community members, we have to be sensitive to people's access to computer technology and equipment that either the board chair or other people might need to ensure that the community members do have, because that was an issue one time in the past.
Thank you, Brenda.
Linda?
Thank you. And through the chair, Brenda, I wanted to comment that I have found the support to the board committees has been terrific, and the annotated agendas have been very helpful.
Yes.
And the one thing I wonder with the feedback, with the surveys, is there a way of a little bit more real-time feedback? If there's a meeting that really doesn't go well, I mean, I think it's not all on staff. It's also on those of us who are chairing. And I would just welcome, more, like, it looks like the results have been very, very positive, but I think it might be good for us to actually get feedback as well in terms of ways that we can improve meetings, and maybe not wait. Like if there's something that really goes off the rails, I would prefer to know it rather than actually wait, and so that we can play a role as well.
Are you speaking here, Linda, in terms of the survey?
I think, yeah, exactly. Because there's feedback coming after all of the committee meetings. I just think that there's, it might be helpful to have a process for that. And I don't know that I've seen that, but maybe I've missed something.
And go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. So Linda, we have paused sending out the surveys after the meetings.
Yeah.
And it seemed that after a series of surveys had gone out, we were receiving fewer and fewer responses. Yeah. And that could have been because we hadn't yet had an opportunity to report back. With this new board portal that we're talking about, I think it'll be a little bit simpler for us to manage follow-up surveys. And we may also be able to incorporate other opportunities to gather input from board members on other aspects associated with governance in addition to the meetings. So I think we're looking to use that sort of methodology as another support for this, but it's a good point. And if there are issues that arise in the meeting, we can certainly take an action to follow up immediately on that, and whatever's the, maybe an appropriate method to gather additional input, we would definitely look to action at as soon as possible.
Yeah, thanks. I just think we need to be accountable as well. So that's great. Thanks, Grant, and thanks. Good work.
Good point, Linda, because I don't think we should give up entirely on asking for surveys. It's maybe need to fine tune some of that process, but some feedback loop process should be incorporated. Thank you. And is it Fareed? Is your hand up, Fareed?
Yeah, my hand is up. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I was going to make the point that Linda made. I mean, I think the usefulness of the survey is timely feedback, and I mean, also not all meetings are created equal, and so I think that sort of timely response might be helpful. I look at some of the January and February board meetings that we had, and those were tough meetings dealing with difficult financial and budgetary issues, and how those meetings were navigated, and the survey might reflect the way some of those meetings were navigated. So I think the timeliness of the response would be helpful, and would make all of us, I guess, reflect and do some introspection and perhaps better respond to what the committee members might be interested in, and understand a bit better about the reasons for those comments. I mean, I would also agree. I don't think we should stop this survey. Notwithstanding participation, I think it's an important piece of data that we can use. And thirdly, just in terms of the portal, I fully support the portal 100%, because I think, I mean, I work with a few other boards, and I find it much more helpful to go on the portal because it's much more organized. I mean, whenever I have these meetings, I have to go and I search
Search.
Karen's name, and I find all the agendas. Although I will look at the agenda as they would come in, but then, so it's going there, seeing all the minutes, seeing all the agendas, seeing everything that we need to know, and an ability to download and review. And I think one of the things that's also helpful for staff is to be able to, and this is perhaps, I don't know how people will take this, but it's also a useful tool of monitoring how directors are accessing the information sent on the website as well. So I mean, I can't sort of speak highly enough about this, because I think it's long overdue and something that I would strongly recommend that we put in place, because it's such a useful place to organize all the resources and to go and access all the resources very quickly, rather than having to stumble through multiple emails to find out, you know, what's the latest agenda, and perhaps if you're looking for minutes from a previous meeting, you can go right on the portal and get that information.
Good point.
So that's a great initiative, and fully supportive.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, then let's proceed now. Motion to move into a closed session. I ask a member to move that we transfer into the closed session under the TSHC bylaw 1.
So move, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Fareed. Seconder?
Good, Madam Chair.
Was that Warren? Warren Law. Thank you very much. So, all in favor? Okay, be it resolved that the CGHRC closed part of the meeting to the public is approved. Thank you. Karen, please confirm